I think that also ties into like, you just wanting to do things at a really high level, and there's always that feeling. But, when it comes to ego, I feel like that's something that also doesn't get talked about a lot at all, or almost gets like ignored by a lot of people because it can be painful to like flip the mirror on ourselves. Is, as you said, like, ego was the death of you. It was the death of me too as well for so long, where, you know, so many people tell themselves like, I don't have any ego, or like, I've never had any narcissistic tendencies, or like, I've never hurt anybody. It's like, if anyone says those things to themselves, and they're much further behind than they actually realize, because we all make mistakes. We all, even people who are very quiet don't realize, how, they might be doing things that can be detrimental to others or can be selfish and such. So, even that it can be painful for us to realize how much it has hurt us in the past. At the same time, I think it's super freeing that we do have that continued sense of awareness, and it can be challenging sometimes when you feel it, because it almost is kind of like almost jolting, but, I think it's just a really important thing that people should talk about more. Is that it lives within all of us, and it's a constant battle.
It exists. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing, I had a friend tell me, he's like, you're super selfish. And I think there's two different ways to be selfish. There's like selfish where you're inconsiderate to others and their time. And that's what I was being. And I'm like, he was right about that. So I started working on that actively. But there is like also the selfishness of like, you have to work on yourself.
Yeah.
And like figure out what is the best thing for you to do at the moment, and that's a way that you can be selfish. So, and like, these are things we're not taught in school. Like, these are things now. I'm 42. I'm finally, don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
42. But these are things that I'm learning.
Yeah, you look good, boy. Yeah.
But right, like, I'm learning this now. Like, it could have, if I would have known this.
Well, I wish I would have known that having boundaries and being selfish were in somewhat of a similar thing, where it's like, I can say no to you because I just want to stay home and do my own thing.
Yes.
And that's not being selfish by, only wanting to do what I want. It's like, no, I need to stay home because that's how I recoup.
Yeah.
That's how I better myself. I need my rest. I need my sleep. So you're telling me, oh, you're being selfish by doing that. Okay, so you want me to not be selfish and go out and take you places and party, and then all it's doing is being a detriment to me so you can have more fun? Kind of sounds like you're the one being selfish.
Welcome to the chaos.
So, Kingman, you've been an entrepreneur, but you have been in like marketing, journaling, media for such a long time. And like, obviously, that's an industry that kind of does take a bad rap, especially nowadays. What's been like your biggest highlight, most memorable moment, story, funny time that can really show people like there's still a good part of media and journalism?
Yeah. I would say the first time that I signed on to do a music festival and to do like social media content and things like that, because, when I was young, I used to literally be there looking at like the lights, the music, the crowd, the energy, and be so inspired by it. So, to be involved with it is honestly such a blessing. And I'm so grateful. And sometimes I feel those waves of gratitude, like being at the music festivals and being around people who, have that feeling like liberation and freedom. It just feels like such a safe space compared to sometimes like in society where there's so much judgment and like, sometimes negative energy and things along those lines. So I'd say, rather than a singular moment, the first time I signed on with the music festival, but I'd say oh man. So the first one I truly was signed on was actually not even that long ago, was Wonderfront Music Festival in San Diego.
What is that one about? Like, I'm not a big festival goer, so
imagine almost like a little mini Coachella where there's like, it might be like Dominic Fike with T-Pain, with like Carly Rae Jepsen, with like Diplo and Kate Trinata. So it's all types of genres.
Nice.
And, it's in San Diego, which is part of the, area I'm from. Even though I'm from Oceanside, where you're from, we never say San Diego. We always say Oceanside because we got that pride. But, that was cool too. Being there with so many friends and like, oh, we never see you down here. Where I'm like, actually, I'm working the festival, And it was just a really cool moment just because it felt like, and it's just super gratifying to be part of, I say a system that I felt kind of like shut out from for so long.
Before you got into media, you were a D1 athlete, you were an Olympian. Like,
oh wow,
how did that all kind of cross over, right? Because you were Olympic rugby player.
So I did train within the development program of Team USA. So I was essentially, after I was finished with football in college, in San Diego. Shout out to Carlin Isles, man. This is the homie. But he's one of the most famous rugby players in the world. He's always been dubbed as the fastest rugby player in the world, too, as well. It came from nothing. A really inspiring story. But, yeah, he essentially had hit me up like, you ever thought about trying rugby? And I'm like, I literally have never considered that in my life, like at all. Even though I'm Samoan and, you know, in Polynesian cultures, you play a lot of rugby, but football was just always my thing. You know, so I went to try, and it was a really good experience with a team called On Back in San Diego, which is called like their Premier League sort of thing. And yeah, I got recruited, so I was part of a TV series called The Next Olympic Hopeful, which is on NBC Sports. So, you know, went to the U.S. Olympic headquarters in Colorado Springs, which was cool. Was, you know, on TV. We did training camps, everything along those lines. And from there, got invited to the San Diego Olympic Center. It's in Chula Vista, San Diego, which was like camps you'd stay kind of overnight, you'd train and stuff like that. But yeah, that's why I always had that super confidence when I was going to sneak-in festivals. Because I'm like, ain't no way. I'm like, because I'm like, even if you can't catch me in the straight line, I'm about to hit you with a spin
Run
cycle.
you over, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's good though, because like, yo, some of the things we do sometimes to kill time at festivals is we'll just scroll back to the tape and watch all the jumpers and watch the security tackle them.
Really?
So like, I watch people get like nailed like a football. So like, it's a good thing you were fast.
This is a thing.
Oh, this is it. Oh, bro. Yeah. People all the time like try to sneak and run and jump over and like, but that, like you said, there's so many things now where security is out. There's only like 1 or 2 points where it's hard now because like we do all these walkthroughs in the festivals where you can like, all right, we know this is going to be a problem, so let's set up a camera, let's put some security there, and you will get caught. Yeah. But it's kind of funny to watch. You're just like, he didn't see him coming.
It's different now. Yeah.
He got hit hard.
I'm going to need Golden Voice to cut that check because I know I helped the security measures for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, because now you look, it's like, okay, this is fortified, honestly. Yeah. And it was honestly really interesting. I feel like I learned a lot, too, of each year when I would go. And obviously, for the last several years, you know, I'll have my own wristbands and stuff like that. So that life is far behind me. But it's super interesting. Each year, I would notice, like, okay, little things would change, which would actually really help me thinking about, like, events and stuff like that, of seeing, like, they're noticing small little details and how they're changing it. And I think about that when I do events, too, as well.
So do you think about that, though, too, when you're writing your articles now? Because you write a lot of articles on music festivals and music in general. So now it gives you a whole different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm curious. Now you say you wrote articles. So you were an athlete. Mm-hmm. You were sneaking into festivals. And then how did you find writing? Because that seems like a
very
completely different.
Yeah,
right.
super different world. And honestly, it's like when you're in sports, you're not really encouraged to even be part of that world at all. Because when I was in college, even when I was less than 21 years old, I was working at the clubs. Like I was working in the clubs. I was helping. It was a company called Epic Entertainment in San Diego, like helping them book DJs. Like I was having 60-person party buses and stuff like that. So it was like a whole different, it feels like honestly like a lifetime ago, but you know, that's kind of how I was starting to like meet people. But when I would go into the music festivals, even the ones I was sneaking in, I'm talking to everybody. Like that's just kind of how I am too. I just like meeting new people. I used to have a rule, like I want to meet one new person every single day. Wow. You know, so music festivals are kind of like the mecca for that because there's people from all around the world, you know, and once again, like when I go, I'm not there to cause any problems. I'm there to, you know, feel liberated and to connect in the interwoven tapestry of humanity, honestly, you know?
I like that, man. The energy is different there. Like the few festivals I've gone to, and I mean, we worked in the nightlife industry for a long time, and there is a good energy about it. Like people just enjoying themselves and really trying to be free.
You know? I mean, I can complain about my job sometimes, obviously being in the festival circuit for years, but it's like, it's really cool when people come up to you. It's like, yo, man, you've given me one of the best experiences of my life, and knowing that like you were a part of giving them something that they will remember forever or change their life. Or like, one of the craziest one of the most heartfelt is I did World Pride in New York with Madonna, which was probably the hardest event that I ever was a part of. But there was somebody who like, I was walking around and I was holding a couple bags of ice and one fell, and somebody like helped me, and we got to say, he's like, yo man, thank you. I was like, no, thank you. You just helped me. He's like, no, you don't understand. I just came out of the closet to my family like 2 months ago, and they disowned me, and I felt so alone. And now I'm here with millions of people at this event you helped put on, and like I feel at home. So like, thank you. And I was like,
Oh,
what I do matters.
Yeah.
No, it honestly,
but like,
it
yeah,
definitely
like
matters.
it's incredible because like, yo, man, it's a place like when I talk to my staff, it's like, yo, this isn't rocket science. We're providing an atmosphere and a place for people to forget about their problems for a while, which there's so many in the world right now, and just be and have fun and enjoy themselves. And like, yo, that's needed now more than ever.
Yeah. And I'll say 100%. Dan and I were kind of talking about it within like different ethnic cultures and stuff like that, where, you know, we do things and get judged for it. And, you know, when I found electronic music specifically, because growing up, my entire family, you know, all the homies, they love rap. Like, it was all about rap. Like, you know, so many of our family was in gangs and all that type of stuff. And that's kind of what's expected, you know. So when I started kind of like branching away from that and like going to festivals, it was like, oh, that's some weird stuff, or like, you know, you're not black for doing those type of things, you know. So that's why I also love festivals, because that judgment doesn't really exist in the same way there. You know, it's like,
especially at the rave.
Oh, especially at
everybody, all are welcome. Like everybody, unless you're on the sky deck, then that's not true. But everywhere else in the festival,
you're not welcome.
You got to pay a lot of money to be welcome.
Yeah,
but
yeah, exactly.
different world. But
yeah, 100%.
I was just thinking about like it's funny, we were talking before about like skincare in high school, and like how we would be made fun of if like you plucked your eyebrows and stuff like that. And it's just weird how our cultures, like even like being disabled now, it's like, it's almost like they don't know how to handle it. Like, you know, I'll get you're too pretty to be in a wheelchair. Like you're too cute. Like you're too young and handsome. Like this is real life, but like it's something that I don't know. Some cultures just don't talk about stuff like that. And
you could think there's stigmas and everything, and like you're talking about ethnicities, right? I grew up in a very blue collar town, and I love where I'm from. But like, yo, everybody I grew up with was like a cop, or now a cop, a firefighter, a union worker, things along those lines. And they're like, what do you mean you're in the festival world? Wait, what do you mean you're shifting and you're writing books and doing poetry? Like, what the are you talking?
Yes,
what are you doing? And then like it gives me an imposter syndrome from time to time, because I'm just like, yo, am I doing the right thing? Should I be following that social norm that exists? And like it makes me second guess everything I do. Like I'm sure you've dealt with that, like going from one to another, because being an athlete, it's a whole different world than being a writer.
Oh yeah. Well, can we cuss on this?
Yeah, we'll
okay, sorry. Yeah. Well, shoot. No, but honestly, it's like I feel like sports is almost like the ultimate imposter syndrome like environment too as well, because it's like when you're playing football, you know, we played in front of crowds anywhere from 30,000 up to, you know, being Ohio State or Michigan, there's 100,000 people there, where it's like when you're lining up. San Diego State.
You played for San Diego. Okay, so you played for a big D1
so we
program.
played, you know, tons of huge programs. You know, we won conference championships. We went to bowl games every year, you know, so it was a great experience, very challenging for sure. Probably the toughest thing I ever did. But it's like when you get to game time, and especially being a cornerback on defense, it's like you either, like, you could play amazingly the whole game, you give up one touchdown. You're terrible. At the wrong time, you're terrible.
Is that one of the hardest positions?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I would say quarterback, you know, on offense, cornerback on defense are the two hardest positions. Like, and for different reasons, but cornerback is like, you know, you can't lose. Like, you have to make every single play. But, you know, when you're lined up against somebody, I'm only 5'9". You know, when I played football in college, I literally, on my heaviest day, I was 168 pounds. Which sounds crazy, but it's because my mentality was so strong. Yeah. You know, why it did help growing up around, you know, culture that honestly had a lot of fighting and stuff like that, as like, you know, as crazy as that sounds. But, you know, when you line up against somebody who's 6'4", 220 pounds, and you're looking at them, you're like, can I do this? You know what I mean? It's like you really battle with that. Yeah. It's really tough, you know? So I would say it's a blessing that I was able to really have that challenge of imposter syndrome and like comparison culture right away. Because it's not only about competing against the other players, it's all competing against your own teammates, because you're fighting for spots on the roster too as well, you know. But
it's like Dion's like, you got that dog in you?
Yeah, you got to be a dog. And honestly, that's the reason why I actually was a starter and I played 40 games consecutively, you know, played through multiple torn labrums. Like, both of my shoulders were torn 2 seasons back to back. But I didn't get the surgery until after the season. So my shoulders have literally dislocated more than 50 times total, which is which is crazy to say, you know, but I'm also proud of myself that I fought through that, you know. But yeah, comparison culture is not only prevalent in sports, but you see it all the time in society. And that's why when we talk about, you know, whether like where you're from with the blue collar family type or, you know, different minority and ethnic cultures, it's like when I do feel judgment from others or like, you know, I can still feel it from like in my hometown or even my family, I don't get necessarily upset anymore because I almost don't even blame them, you know, because it's like they were passed down that from people who were judging them and put them into a box where they don't even realize, you know, how confined their thinking is.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why I don't really try to judge. If I see it, I don't really even try to call it out. I just try to acknowledge it to make sure that I'm not doing that to others.
Yeah. Also not letting it affect you, having the awareness of like, yo, your opinion is you. That doesn't have to predicate how I live my life. So you can think that that's cool, but that's not going to bother me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember something that happened to me in high school when I finally came out of my shell. I was really shy and started like figuring out things that I liked. And I found out I was a good dancer.
Oh, nice.
And then like NSYNC came out and Backstreet Boys. And I just connected with that music. I felt like I wanted to be in a boy band as well. Yeah. And, you know, I got made fun of and, you know, my parents were like, that's gay music, you know, like my dad, you know, let's cut that out.
Growing up.
What was the famous dance? Was it the bye bye bye
bye bye? Yeah.
Bye. But like that, because I could dance and like a lot of the guys in my school would look down upon and make fun of me. None of the girls did. They loved it. They loved that I could dance, and they loved that I could, you know, sing and do this choreography, and
it wasn't considered manly.
It wasn't cool, like
quote unquote.
And I'd be like,
the dudes are probably hating because you had a couple of the chicas on your side.
Exactly,
too.
It was all about haters, but then you don't realize it at the time that the stuff that you like, it somewhere later in life, it's gonna help you. Like now, I'm dancing in my wheelchair, and like. I'm gonna do like a boy band piece and like because now it's like nostalgic and cool. Like if I would have like fought against what I loved back then, it wouldn't have helped me later in life.
Yeah.
So but I'm interested. I want to get back to you about how you got into writing. Like were you playing football and like in the back of your head you're like it's just like inner dialogue. You're like I want to write this down. Like how did that come upon?
You know, it was never even a thought of mine. You know, I got to give that credit to who was previously at the time signed on essentially as like a freelancer as my publicist when I was just moving to LA. Her name is Tori Brodsky. She's now the CEO of a canned wine and seltzer company that has the first ever seltzer made with wine versus like malt liquor. It's actually incredible. It's called Bessa. BESA, but she was my publicist at the time, just helping me kind of like get more involved with media and everything along those lines. And I'd already started my brand Percussion, which is a sports technology company. I'd done some things with like building up social media brands and stuff like that. And she actually had the idea of like, you know, I saw that Rolling Stone has this opportunity, like I think you'd be really good for it. And I was like, okay, I literally know nothing about Rolling Stone other than I consider them probably the most iconic like magazine or like publication of all time. I was like, cool. You know, but even then I was like, in my head, I was like, Rolling Stone, like, I hope I don't get judged because that seems like a white platform. You know what I mean? Which even, you know, trying to get over those type of things was like battling with that. But yeah, so she had like put in the word, she contacted them, they reached out, we did interviews, they checked financial statements, all those type of things. And yeah, they had pretty much were like, okay, yeah, we'd love to have you on this platform. Like we can either have you write all of your articles or we can team you up with an editor type of thing along those lines. So I'm going to my third year now with Rolling Stone. And in the beginning, you know, super helpful when you're writing articles. And every article with Rolling Stone for the council takes about 4 to 6 weeks. It's a very like thorough process because obviously, you know, they make sure that everything you write is indicative of the quality that they want, you know, on the platform. But that's really how I got involved with it is Victoria Brodsky. You know, she's incredible. She's a businesswoman. She's such a boss. And she's the one who really like influenced me to get part of that. And ever since then, I realized like, you know, writing is very powerful. You know, there's a lot of impact you can have through written word, you know, through articles. So from there, being with the Rolling Stone platform gave me enough credibility where other outlets would contact me and like, we'd want you to write some things for here or for maybe like an event or, you know, social media packaged in with an article and things along those lines, which helped me branch out to do a lot of other stuff too as well.
And then you branched out, you segued into the festivals, like writing for, was it a festival publication or something like that?
Yeah. So now I would do more previously on like my own social media stuff, and a lot of white labels. So, white labels in a sense where like I'm not posting it on my own page. They would just see like, cause I have Media Kit for like years, I'm building my Media Kit, putting my videos together and stuff, and I'd send it out, or people would contact me and I'd send it back to show, okay, I can create these type of videos for you. And then, so I'd create videos for, tons of different like brands, whether it's like beverage brands, like events, even artists. Like I'd create videos for artists and stuff along those lines, but you would really either not see my face or I wouldn't be tagged in it, and they'd pay you just to create the videos for them to put out on their own platform.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you're like the ghostwriter, but of like the social media world.
Yeah, that's kind of a way to think about it. But UGC is really big now.
Okay.
Yeah, so a couple years ago,
UGC?
User-generated content.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, versus like, once again, so let's say if a brand comes to me and they're like, we'll give you $1,000 to make 2 posts on your Instagram and 3 Instagram stories, but I have to post it on my own page. Most people don't want to post on their own page because it feels less organic than it used to feel. Where back in the day, it was all like, get this detox tea and stuff like that. Like you don't see that much anymore because that's that wave is gone. It doesn't convert anymore. So now it's like more of a organic UGC where you create the content, but you not only infuse it in a really organic way. It's not like a direct selling. It's more like, here's how I use it in my everyday life. And then they also sometimes just take the clips and they cut it up for you.
This is the man I need in my life right here.
You need
'Cause
all
I'm
the social
terrible at
media help you can get.
I need-
Hey, let's go.
I'm
Hey, with a
terrible.
smile like that, hey,
Hey,
you need to blow up ASAP on TikTok.
My phone is full of content. I just never
Yeah.
put it out
Just never
there.
put it out
Like
there.
literally.
So
it's
is
just,
so is my hard drive.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I would say like other than compared to like 2012, social media is more powerful now than it's ever been.
Yeah.
Especially with like trial reels on Instagram, with TikTok wanting to, the monetization platforms on TikTok is incredible with the credit rewards program, with TikTok affiliate on the shop. And they just last week announced that they're going to accelerate the earnings for specific categories of like music and film, automotive, music, and stuff like that. So it's a battle right now between Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and the monetization is stronger than ever. The reach is better than ever. So, for anybody listening, just post the videos, even small videos that feel stupid, literally just put them up. You never know what's going to go viral. And many times the one that you don't even put that much effort into actually will work the best because it feels just so natural.
Well, that's what Rick Rubin says is like put art out into the world and let everybody else judge it, but it isn't art until you put it out there.
Yeah.
Right. So it's you're 100% right. Put it out and just let people see it. But I wanted to get back to it. So we get back to the imposter syndrome thing we were talking about, because when you talked about, you're like, oh, I started writing for Rolling Stones, and that's one of the biggest publications ever. How much imposter syndrome came up for that? Because, man, that's got to be a lot of pressure being published in one of the most iconic magazines to ever exist. So, like, what was that like, imposter-wise, stress-wise, nervous-wise? Like, when your first article was coming out, how'd you feel?
Yeah. I was excited, for sure. And once again, it's a little bit of a process, about 4 to 6 weeks, 4 weeks absolute minimum, because they got a lot going on. So, it takes a little while for the editors to go, proofread it, check. They go back and forth to make sure the quality is what it needs to be and everything along those lines. But yeah, since that was really my first ever true, like, actual article that I, have written out, I was definitely in my mind thinking about, like, okay, when people from Rolling Stone see this, like, what are their thoughts going to be, But it's been cool. Yeah, the editors, honestly, are real cool. Like, they take it seriously. They give you a lot of positive feedback, and they help you with rewrites, too, as well. So, if I write something and they're like, this isn't essentially what we should have in it, it's not like, you got to do better. It's more like, hey, I love what you're doing, but, like, let's see if we can, rephrase this to, match the syntax of the article a little better. So, they're super helpful on that end.
So yeah, they help you find your voice. Like, you put your personality on the page, and then they're like, let's form it this way. But I'm guessing now, like, you've done it so long, it's like you've found your voice in your writing.
Yeah, I hope so. I think it's a constant process too. With anything, I think no matter what creative venture you're in, it's never ending, as far as like trying to find excellence and purpose within it, for sure. But I would say the process is faster now, just because, I understand, what the pace should look like of the article, how many words should it be, how should it be formatted and spaced out and not too cluttered and everything along those lines. So the great thing now is when I write an article, it only really needs 1 to maximum 2 edits for the most part, which helps me get them out, a lot faster.
Okay.
Do you when you talk about writing, do you use it just now for publication, or is writing like an outlet, right? Because like for me, writing is healing and therapeutic, and like I do it for purposes for this, and we talk about doing PR stuff. Yeah. But then it's like some days I just write to write because it makes me feel better to get all the that's in my head out. So like, is that something you now use as a tool for your struggles or things along those lines?
Yeah, to your point, I should use like an aspect of journaling more often, because I could see that could be really helpful, just because my brain just doesn't stop. I think a lot of us kind of resonate with that. It's like, it's always moving at 1,000 miles per hour, and I probably could have some relief by journaling on a daily basis. But I like writing now because it helps me kind of almost keep a documentation of my thoughts and like things I'm interested in, so I would say that's where it's really helpful. Is it helps me also feel a sense of, I would say, achievement, because it's like, okay, I was able to get this published in an outlet, they approved it. It feels like there's a validation there too, as well. As much as the validation should come from us on the inside, it always is going to be nice, as much as people, like to ignore that part, to have external validation too as well, when it is coming from a really amazing platform too as well.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard for us to like take compliments. Like I love giving compliments. I love telling people they're amazing, they're doing excellent work. But then when it's reciprocated towards me, I'm like, it's weird. Stop it. I'm not that good.
Hey,
like I'm not. You know what I mean?
You're amazing.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, you too.
You're amazing.
Can I reach over to you? I got a little wingspan right here. Yeah, there we go.
But you're right. It does feel weird, right? Because for so long, man, I battled in my head. It's like my head would tell me for years when I was struggling, you're not enough. You're terrible. You're never going to make it. And then so when someone's like, oh, I think what you're doing is awesome, you're like, but do you really? Like, I don't know how much I believe you on this. And it's like your own thing that keeps coming up.
Yeah, and it's like I try to be humble about it, but sometimes you're like, you have to be proud of yourself and what you accomplished and the journey that you went through to get there. You know what I mean? But it's hard to like you said, like it's a self.
Yeah,
you always want to beat yourself down for some reason.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like I think it's just kind of how the world does work. But then also like I do, being around nightlife for so long and like being around especially like D1 athletes, you see a lot of ego, and I see how that compromises, and I see how people with ego treat others. So I'm very particular. Like I never want to be that person. So I think like I'm kind of afraid to accept compliments a lot of the time, because I feel like then that'll kind of boost that ego up, which was the death of me for such a long time. Like I needed to have a full ego death to become the person I am now. And it's like, I don't ever want to go back there. So I watch very much of how much I let get to my head.
Yeah. There's a great book called Ego is the Enemy. I don't know, it was somebody in the circle.
I did not read that, so I did not recommend that to you.
It's a great book.
I should though.
It's a great book, but it like really taught me to realize when my ego is coming into play, and like in a certain situation, it's like, I'll have an inner dialogue now, like, Danny, this is your ego. And like, I'll beat it down, especially if it's a negative way. Like, I feel like it's negatively affecting me. Yeah. Now I realize, I'm like, oh, this is my ego in play. Like, just let it go, man. Yeah. And like, the situation is always that much better. Well, and you always end up taking the higher ground. Yeah. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, I realize my ego, my biggest thing is control, right? Like, I need to feel like I have control over everything I do. So now that we're expanding everything, and we're expanding the podcast in the studio, and we're expanding AMP, and now King is part of the AMP team too with us, helping us on the media, the PR side. We're very excited to have him. But now, like I said, I'm surrounded by some amazing people, and I'm so used to doing everything. And now it's like, oh, I just got to sit back now, because him and Billy are like, yo, you've built everything to this point, right?
Yeah.
Let us take it. Let Sophia handle this. Let King handle this. Let Billy handle this. Let Josh handle this. Let Sheila handle this. And I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Nothing. I'm like, I don't like that.
It's your baby. You gotta let other people babysit.
And no, you're the face of the entire brand.
But like, it's hard to let go of the control.
Yeah.
Like but I know that's a me thing, right? Because I trust everybody around me, and I know how amazing they are. But there's still that little ego in me that I know it's ego. That's the control factor that feels like if I don't do it, it won't get done right, which I know is false. But it's like, that's the internal battle you constantly
100%.
have. And it's
100%.
wild to be able to notice that now.
Yeah. I think that also ties into like, you just wanting to do things at a really high level, and there's always that feeling. But You know, when it comes to ego, I feel like that's something that also doesn't get talked about a lot at all, or almost gets like ignored by a lot of people because it can be painful to like flip the mirror on ourselves. Is, as you said, like, you know, ego was the death of you. It was the death of me too as well for so long, where, you know, so many people tell themselves like, I don't have any ego, or like, you know, I've never had any narcissistic tendencies, or like, I've never hurt anybody. It's like, if anyone says those things to themselves, then they're much further behind than they actually realize, you know, because we all make mistakes. We all, you know, even people who are very quiet don't realize, you know, how, you know, they might be doing things that can be detrimental to others or can be selfish and such. So, you know, even that it can be painful for us to realize how much it has hurt us in the past. You know, at the same time, I think it's super freeing that we do have that continued sense of awareness, you know, and it can be challenging sometimes when you feel it, because it almost is kind of like almost jolting, you know, but, you know, I think it's just a really important thing that people should talk about more. Is that it lives within all of us, and it's a constant battle.
It exists. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing, I had a friend tell me, he's like, you're super selfish. And I think there's two different ways to be selfish. There's like selfish where you're inconsiderate to others and their time. And that's what I was being. And I'm like, you know, he was right about that. So I started working on that actively. But there is like also the selfishness of like, you have to work on yourself.
Yeah.
And like figure out what is the best thing for you to do at the moment, you know, and that's a way that you can be selfish. So, and like, these are things we're not taught in school. Like, these are things now. I'm 42. I'm finally, don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
42. But these are things that I'm learning.
Damn, you look good, boy. Yeah.
But right, like, I'm learning this now. Like, it could have, if I would have known this.
Well, I wish I would have known that having boundaries and being selfish were in somewhat of a similar thing, where it's like, I can say no to you because I just want to stay home and do my own thing.
Yes.
And that's not being selfish by, you know, only wanting to do what I want. It's like, no, I need to stay home because that's how I recoup.
Yeah.
That's how I better myself. I need my rest. I need my sleep. So you're telling me, oh, you're being selfish by doing that. Okay, so you want me to not be selfish and go out and take you places and party, and then all it's doing is being a detriment to me so you can have more fun? Kind of sounds like you're the one being selfish.
And then also being able to communicate that to your friends. Like, I missed a friend's birthday, a really good friend of mine. And I told him, I was like, listen, dude, my anxiety was so bad that day. Like, I wouldn't have added anything to your group.
Yeah.
I would have been putting on this mask, pretending to laugh, you know, with everyone. But inside, I'm dying. Like, I just didn't want to put myself through that. And I don't think it was fair to you for me to bring that, not my best self to your, you know. And I think that's important to communicate to others, like how you're, why are you missing these things? Like, what, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
Authenticity is the highest frequency.
Yeah. And then also people like,
you know.
I'm so grateful that I now have friends where I'm just like, yo, man, I just don't have it today.
Yeah.
And my friend's like, all right, cool. Yeah, we get it. We'll do something another day. And it's like, all right, I want to have friends like that who understand who I am and not the ones that give me a guilt trip. And it's like, as we're getting older, it's like, now I know who needs to be part of my circle.
Yeah.
Now I know who I can trust and rely on. Now I know who gets it. And I appreciate, you know, man, I appreciate the friends that are like, yeah, I don't give a shit. Cancel. It's all good. I want to stay home too. It's like, thank you. You want to FaceTime and watch a movie together? Like, bring it back to pandemic style.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
let's do it. You know what I mean?
And you're reminding me too of a topic. Actually, one of my most recent articles I put out in Rolling Stone was called, so I'm asking a philosophical question because the article was titled.
Oh, I love it when it comes the other way. Come on.
Yeah, it was called mental toughness versus self-care. What's more important? So what would you say? What's more important? Mental toughness of pushing through, you know, having that sort of mindset that it's going to be on the game, or self-care?
Self-care all day.
Yeah.
Because I need mental toughness, but I can't be mentally tough if I have not taken care of myself and filled up my own cup first.
Yeah, you have to,
Yeah. What do you
Self-care
say,
all
Dave?
day.
Yeah, no, because I went through it. I had mental toughness forever. I could, I had a high pain threshold physically and mentally, but that was just armor. And on the inside, I was weak. So if you broke that armor down, then there was nothing there.
I mean, bro, you went through a devastating accident.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
it's
that
like,
would have, I mean, King doesn't know this, but Danny was only in this wheelchair about 5-6 years now. He was in an accident, And most people, that would just make them a shell of themselves. And he's like, it made me a better human being. And I remember the first year of your accident, man, like you had to push through some really dark times. So
it was
that
hard.
mental toughness is what brought you here, that now you can take care of yourself.
But I did it, like, I did have the mental toughness, but I realized that I needed the self-care. And that just brought everything together. Because when I started taking care of myself and my heart and my mind, I was completely alone, but and there was no one to help. And I think that's sometimes that's how your path is going to be. But that like just made me stronger in everything else. So now I know that I can go through those hard times. And so it is, I think it's equally important. You know what I mean? I think you have to find the balance.
Situational, like what comes first, like, because I know, and then it's a weird thing. It's like also you think about mental toughness is just pushing through things. It's like for me, mental toughness was when I was really down out asking for help and going to rehab, because you know how tough that was for me to ask for help and to admit, yo, I have a problem. So like to be able to accept that and then push forward against everything saying, nope, don't say that out loud. Nope, don't tell anybody. I had to tough it out against my own will to be like, all right, no, we have to do this differently. And that was really tough.
Who's the first person that you like admitted that to?
I guess it just depends on what time you're talking about. So when I did try to commit suicide, my best friend, she's like my sister, I opened up to, and that was really hard. But then this time around, it was actually my mother. I like broke down on the phone and like, yo, I'm not okay. I need help. And it's wild because me and my mom have a great relationship now, but in the past it was always rocky. So for her to be the person for me to open up to, it was definitely interesting.
Wow. Yeah, that's really cool that, you know, she was the one, you know, because I'm sure that honestly, even though it was probably very challenging, I would assume that it probably was honestly a really great feeling that you opened up to her out of everybody.
Yeah, it definitely helped build our relationship better. And then after that, you know, Chris Kim was one of my best friends and designs all of our sets. He was the person I actually broke down in front of, where he's like, yo, come on, let me pick you up. And I cried hysterically, and he just drove for like 2 hours as I cried and just got it all out. So like having that safe space, because I mean, as a man, we're taught, you know, don't cry at all. So now to cry in front of somebody, it was definitely a hard time, but I'm glad I got it out and like, oh, okay, it's a person who's never used that against me. Like, you are a true friend.
That's so important too, you know, because like sometimes people get upset and they might throw things in your face and such, but yeah, like you said, also you opened up to your mom about that, because I don't know if you guys know about this about me, but you know, during that time when I was like sneaking into festivals and life was crazy, I was working nightlife in San Diego, and you know, having the party buses literally pick me up from outside my apartment, and we'd have to after hours literally every day of the week. Is, you know, it destroyed my life. This is after college. I'd already graduated, but before I got my life back together and started training with rugby and, you know, got involved with Team USA, is I was actually sleeping in my car for like a year and a half, almost 2 year period. So I was like couch surfing. I was in a $500 Jeep I got from my cousin Tanoa. She absolutely saved me with that. But no one knew it. I was literally so embarrassed to tell anybody. So like I have one video on my social media that I posted, and I had done a podcast interview. It was like a couple years ago now, and everybody from my hometown, my family was like, why wouldn't you tell us this? Like, we had no idea about this. But me realizing or thinking in my head of like, they're not thinking about why I didn't tell them, you know, because I don't feel safe to tell you, you know, and I felt like I was going to be judged. And obviously there's also that part within us that lives of like
embarrassment,
100%, humiliation. You know, it's like, it's so tough. But my mom called me, and she was so upset, and like upset, not angry, of just like so sad. 'Cause she was like, you know, you can always tell me this type of things. And, you know, my mom and dad has always been very tough on me, you know, especially my dad. And he's going to see this and be like, man, you outed me. But it's so true. And like, it's helped in so many ways. But, you know, I did feel bad that I didn't necessarily open up to my mom about it. But yeah, she was like, you could always tell me, you know, when you're going through stuff, which honestly was a really great moment for me.
Yeah. But like you said, like they don't you think no one's going to understand. And we grew up in such a different time period than our parents. Like, yo, we're all doing something different, right? Yeah. Like, so I think I don't give my parents enough credit, because I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna, you just don't get it. I don't want to explain, but it's like, they care. They want to be there. Even if they don't get it, they still want to show up. So I try to do a lot better of a time with that? So like, as your relationship, I mean, you said your dad was really tough on you. Has that relationship, if you're okay with talking about, built much better since you have been able to open up? Because I feel like as I'm getting older, I'm much more able to level with my parents, but also see like, yo, they're just people too. They had no idea what they were doing when they were raising me. Yeah. They still don't, just like none of us.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because there was a quote too that I honestly was like very enlightening, you know, when I heard it, but it's like, be nice to your parent because it's their first time going through life too, you know, and it is so true. And, you know, my parents, when they had me, they were very young, you know, they're 20 years old. My dad had already had a kid for a few years too as well, you know, so I give them the grace in that sense too as well. But yeah, they're going through life the same way that we are, you know, just learning on the go. And the tough thing about our parents is like when they came up, there was so much less information available. There was so much less nutrition information, like physical exercise information, like mental health information. So it's like they're just doing their best.
Anxiety and depression wasn't a thing when they were growing up either.
Right. Someone said the other day too, they were like, man, there's more mental health challenges today than ever before. Like we have the most depressed generation. I'm like, do we? Or did no one just talk about it? You know, was it just like literally just oppressed and put everyone into depression?
Right.
And it wasn't looked at the same way.
Well, because they weren't aware of it. And also you didn't have the reach to realize you're like, oh, everybody else in town goes to work, works a 9 to 5, come home, drinks all night, hates their life too. Oh, this must be normal. This is what life is. And we're the first generation to be like, hold on, this isn't, something's off here.
Right. It wasn't that it was worse. It was that it wasn't presented to us in social media.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, there's all this stuff going on. My mom brings it up. She's like, there's so much bad stuff going on. I don't remember stuff like this when we didn't have phones. And I'm like, Mom, because we didn't have this technology. This was going on all over the world still.
But like, but I also think that's why there is so much anxiety and depression, because we have all this technology at your fingertips where you know what's going on. So it makes you worried about it. There's so much comparison, so much imposter syndrome. There's too much information that is so overwhelming that you don't know how to process it. And then that causes anxiety, that creates the depression, that creates all the mental illness that is existing. Like we've kind of gone down that road, and I don't think there's a way we can turn around now.
Yeah. I mean, it actually is crazy when you think about what we're seeing on social media. And it's like, you know, I'm not making any political statements or anything along those lines, but it's like our brains are not meant to be seeing constant videos of like kids being bombed in other countries and like people committing suicide and like the cartel, you know, killing people and stuff. Like what's on social media is so wild, and it's like we're just intaking so much of it where it seems like everything is so bad. And if you watch the news, it's like you never see anything positive on the news.
No, it's all it is negative.
It's all negative. You know what I mean? And it's like it could be very easy to go down that hole, but personally I feel like we're living in the best time in history to be alive because we have the most autonomy that we've ever had with social media. People can create their own businesses from literally nothing, you know, without needing any capital, or like you can be an artist without needing record label backings. You know, there's so much more freedom to create and to build than ever before, and to travel and everything along those lines. So the world is by no means perfect, but I do think that we're living in the most opportune time in the history of the world.
I agree. But I also think to piggyback off that, I think we're in the most transitional time in the world too. So that's where it's like there's still a lot of, you know, the next couple of generations are really going to benefit, but there's still a lot of trial and error, because now there's like, think about our parents. Like I love when everyone's saying like, oh, this generation, they're so lazy, they don't want to work. What do you mean? They don't want to work for minimum wage for 50 hours because I can't buy a house on the same way you bought one on $32,000? No, that's not laziness. That's them having to figure out a new way to operate because the old way wasn't working.
Yeah. And it's like, I know they always say that, or like when I say they, I mean, it's like older generations or older people in the media. They're like, you know, new generation doesn't want to work. I'm like, I wouldn't say that they don't want to work or that we don't want to work, or that I always have the idea that I think people do want to work, because then there's that gratification of like you worked for something. I think people just want to have purpose in their work.
Yeah, we don't want to work in this rat race of a system that was created. Like the whole American dream, we're realizing is actually a nightmare.
Yeah, no one wants to get yelled at by their boss.
No,
like,
man.
You know what I mean?
Like you said, like, you know, especially after the pandemic, I think so many people are looking for purpose.
Yeah.
And I think that's what causes a lot of anxiety and depression is working so much not in your purpose. And you're saying get yelled at by somebody where you're like, I don't even like you.
Yeah.
Why are you yelling at me? I make $20 an hour. Shut up. Like,
and it goes back to that cycle too of like the manager, he don't like what he's doing either, you know, because he wasn't trained at all by anybody, you know, which is so crazy. And like I think about that in business too, because I've been blessed enough to, you know, be at the helm of, you know, a multi-franchise business that does millions of dollars per year. I have my own startup that does very well, you know, and I see it all the time where it's like there's such a lack of training across all businesses where it's like because you're good at your job, that gets you elevated, but people don't train you how to train other humans, how to work with other humans. They just focus on the job task itself. And I think that is a huge part of why there is so much like despair in the workplace is because there's not enough training when it comes to actually like working with other human beings. You know, how do people react to certain tones? How can you uplift people? So I don't know if you guys have ever read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yes.
By Dale Carnegie. Love that book. That's like my
How to Start a Cult book, basically. That's the book that a couple of cult leaders have read.
Oh, for real?
Yes.
Oh, really? Yeah, I guess it works for all types of stuff, I suppose. You know what I mean? But and the title I always tell people, because like all of my managers that I've hired and brought on, I have them all read that book, and like I have it posted up, you know, in the business. I literally always have it on my phone and one of the tabs to always go back and look at before I go in meetings with people too. So I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I'm smiling. I need to make sure I'm saying their name. I'm looking them in the eyes. I'm acknowledging them as a human being. You know, I need to make sure I'm talking about their wins before I talk about not their losses, but their opportunities. You know, like little small changes that we can have in the workplace, or if you have a business or even a team, you know what I mean? That can make people feel so much more valued and like bought into the vision of what you're doing and have a vision. Like, what is the vision of what we're actually doing here versus just showing up every single day, clocking in, clocking out? That feels so draining and defeating.
Yeah. There's another book, check out. I think it's Tom Good. It's called Unreasonable Hospitality. It talks about creating the culture in the workplace and the important, like it was about Madison Park or 11th Park. It was a restaurant that was number 50 in the world and they wanted to be number 1 and they didn't change anything on the menu. They just changed the culture and how their staff treated everybody that came into the building, and then 2 years later became number 1 in the world.
Yes.
And it started from like the way they were taught, or they were treated.
Yeah, because
in
I mean,
the workplace.
We've been in nightlife where the culture was shit, where it was like, yo, you're not going to do what we tell you. You're not going to work 16 hours with no break. Well, somebody else wants your job.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's such toxic environment, which burns out so many good people. And it's like, why do I want to go work in a place that's going to just destroy me?
100%. I've actually seen that in real life situations too as well. Because I'm not sure how familiar you are with the StretchLab brand, but StretchLab is now the leading, you know, I say leading, like the largest one-on-one assisted stretching brand in the entire world. You know, we started in Los Angeles with our 4 founding studios. Now there's a little less than 550 around the country. We've expanded to Canada, New Zealand, Australia, Dubai, Japan, and such. But I took that exact strategy when I took over as the leader of the Beverly Hills studio, and it was a very bad culture. Like, that's all I'm going to say about it. It was super negative. People did not want to be there. They would have fights with the clients and stuff like that. One of the biggest things is every single day we're talking about, like, we deserve to be part of the number 1 team in the world, literally. So sometimes, or some of the people would be like, in the world, like, we could be number 1 in the world. I'm like, you can be number 1 in the entire world. I promise you. Like, if you focus, and if we're number 1 in the USA, we'll be number 1 in the world. And literally in 2022, that's when it first came true. And I started in 2020 when I took over the brand during COVID, which is crazy. I took over in February 2020. So literally the next month, we shut down for 8 months. It was crazy. But when we started just talking about like, we could be number 1, we could be the absolute best in the world. Like, and speaking it in the sense of like, you deserve to be the best. Like, you've worked so hard, you have your degrees, you've overcome so much adversity, and like putting that life into them, we literally became number 1 in the entire country. The business did well over $100,000 every single month, up from $9,000. We went from $9,000 to $100,000 a month, purely because we were just speaking vision and life into the team members. Nothing else really changed.
It's so crazy. I want to touch more on that. It's so crazy you said StretchLab, because like as you were saying that, you'll see in the playback, I was going like this because I was thinking, man, I need to stretch. And you said StretchLab. I'm like, what the heck?
Oh, that's crucial. Honestly, it's.
But yeah, I definitely need I need that.
Oh man, I'm telling you, stretching is so important. Like, I wish I understood it more when I was an athlete. And like, it's so silly when I was young and it was super fast, like being a more, I don't want to say petite, that's not the right word. I ain't petite, but you know what I'm saying? Like being an undersized athlete and being super fast. I used to think like, okay, the tighter I am, the more like elastic my muscles will be, which is 100% incorrect. Now I'm, have my certifications and stuff, so I understand anatomy a lot more in depth, but that is actually a whole nother topic into why people feel so much like mental pain and despair on a daily basis, because if your body doesn't feel good, it's very tough for your mind to feel good, because it's also about your central nervous system, so if I'm having, sciatica issues because my hips, my glute are super tight, my hamstrings and my hip flexors, are so tight that it's compressing on my sciatic nerve, that's going to cause me more tension in my body, which will cause me more stress, which will make me, treat people differently. I'll have less energy. It's like a whole entire thing.
Oh, I can attest to that, man. Like this, because I'm in a seated position every day, all day. My back I'm in pain 24/7. Literally every second of the day I'm in pain. And like, that's exhausting.
Yeah.
Like I'm always tired, man. So, no, it's important. And like stretching is like one of the just things that you could do for free.
Yeah.
And like sometimes we don't do it. We need to go to a place to help them stretch us. You know what I mean?
Because when you do it yourself, it's like most people don't have a true depth of understanding of how to stretch yourself, because it's a pretty brand new industry, truly. It's just becoming more ingrained into society as far as like the science behind it all and such. But stretching yourself usually feels painful because you just go down and do it. But when someone else stretches you, boy, I'm telling you, that thing felt good.
I know. I'm like dreaming about it right now, dude.
I think that as you're getting older, you gotta like work on all of these things, right? But like alignment, like physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, like that's the whole concept of wellness. Wellness is a multi-billion-dollar brand now, which is the number one brand out there. So it's like, getting everything aligned to be the best. But I really like what you were saying about like, taking that brand from where it was, because it's like creating that culture and having good people around you and putting that message out there really makes the difference. Because I hated working in toxic environments. And like, that's when I took over in the festivals, I was like, I'm not doing what it used to do and how nightlife used to treat us. And then now as we kind of even move into A&P with this whole concept of the brand, of giving back, of being better with the culture, creating a better culture than one that exists, it's like having that mentality. And that's why I'm so glad having somebody like you as part of the brand and the team now. So I wanted to ask, like, what's something that drew you to working with all of us at A&P and being a part of this whole project? And what's something you're looking forward to about contributing to and what you think we can build?
I'm just excited to continue pushing forward something that this I feel like is very important, because we've talked about a lot of different aspects of the importance of like mental health, how to overcome comparison culture, imposter syndrome, everything along those lines. But I feel like it still is very pushed under the rug for the most part, especially, on the side of males who are still very resistant to those type of things. So I'm just excited to be part of something I feel is like truly impactful and can really impact the world in a positive way. I think that's super important, and for me, on my personal end, I actually feel like I deal with more mental health issues now than I actually did when I was younger, which I think plays into the aspect of like awareness. I think I'm far more aware of my actions, my words, the detriment they might have on others, so I'm still navigating that for myself, which I think is super important to then be part of these conversations, because it's not only will help others, but actually will help me too as well.
Yeah, and it's also the stakes are higher now. Like you're doing more. You're writing, a publication that, millions of people possibly are seeing, and you're running businesses. You have your own, was it percussion that you created?
Yeah, percussion,
yeah, I read up on you a little bit.
Hey, my boy.
I like to do homework now.
Yes, sir.
I would hope so. Well, then now, even then, like you're moving, like you're still in Rolling Stones, but now you just took on EDC Maniac, which is the rave culture is absolutely massive nowadays, and like it's something that people look to for better health and like for something that where they can just let their mental down. So now being a part of EDC Maniac, like that even will blend out, and hopefully we can kind of bring some of that conversation into that, because people go to raves to forget about their problems, but when the rave's over, you got to go back to it. So it's like, how can you figure out that balance?
Yeah, and honestly, I think there's a lot of synergy between EDC Maniac and A&P and this entire like spectrum of topics, because EDC Maniac, not only do they do we post about, news and festivals and such, but there are serious topics too as well. Like, when is it time to leave the party? Why do you feel drained after festivals, versus feeling fulfilled and recharged and such? How do you protect yourself when you're, going out to events that, have a natural little bit of danger when you're going out into the world and such, So, I'd love to have any sort of synergy with it. The founder, Devin, I think he does an amazing job to be able to, blend the world of like fun when it comes to festivals, but also, the topics that are really impactful and they're very serious too as well.
I come from the festival world. I had to learn what to do when the music stops, which was my first, downhill. Is like after I would finish working, I'd be so exhausted and it would destroy me. It's like, and I didn't know how to pick myself back up. So I did it the very unhealthy way. So like, that's a big reason why I'm doing what I do, because I don't ever want to see somebody get to where I was. Yeah. And I know there's a lot of friends who've been there, and it's like, no, we can do something to fix this. Yeah. So,
man, how long are your days usually when you're working at the festivals?
18 hours.
Yeah.
16 hours. It's exhausting.
You keep smiling on your face the whole time. How do you do it?
Because I don't got another choice. I don't have any other choice. But it's part of it's what the culture is. It's what I got to do, and I'm grateful I have at the end of the day, man. I'm grateful I have a really cool job. Yeah. Regardless of what the negative sides could be, I have a whole new perspective on it. Yeah. So I'm grateful for it. So King, so grateful to have you on the chaos. It's been great.
King
Thank
is
you.
Here.
Thank you for telling us how you control your chaos. Thank you, everybody, for checking out the chaos. I'm your host, Mikey Tableman, alongside my co-host,
Danny J. Gomez.
And you just watched an episode with King Holder, media director. We loved him. Check out more. Peace.